Welcome to another episode of Two Brothers, Same Mother. Of course, we got Sheik here, got AJ right there on
What's
the
up?
side of me. And hey, got a chance to see some real NFL action, especially out of the Birds this past Thursday against the Steelers. And we know the preseason score does not matter. What matters is kind of the individual battles and things like that. So we're gonna just talk about the preseason. You know what I mean? I'm gonna bring up a few things. Obviously, throw in anybody else that you want to talk about, AJ, because I know you dive a little bit deeper. But first thing I think everybody would want to talk about who watched that is Jalen Hurts. 3 for 7. That did include a bad drop from Zach
Hurts.
A drop from Rager, which maybe is a little underthrown, but he got his hands on it, and it should have been a relatively easy catch. And a ball that could have been better placed to Quez Watkins that would have went for a 98-yard touchdown. So obviously I have thoughts too. I'm going to let you speak your mind. What was your thoughts on Jalen Hurts in his first action?
I saw some really good things. His ball placement was really well, and it looked like even on that Rager drop, it looked like he was expecting Rager to come back, i.e. that pass to Alshon last year against the Saints, right? That's what it looked like he was trying to do, and Rager didn't really come back. But his poise looked really well. And yeah, it was slightly I thought Quez hesitated, but he didn't. It looked like the corner kind of gave a little tug. And I think Quez actually said that in his press conference, that the corner gave him a little tug. But either way, it was still kind of it was still a little bit too far inside, just slightly. But when you're looking at things like that, like, oh, well, his ball was just slightly too inside, that means he probably had a good day, because that's what we're just like fishing for some holes at that point. You know what I mean? But I thought he did really well. It was definitely encouraging.
Absolutely. Let me ask you something. The fact that he only scrambled one time for 4 yards, good, bad, not really matter.
That part didn't matter. What I thought was more impressive was, which had been a hindrance even with him last year and to his predecessor, Jesus, I lost concentration there for a second.
Well, the hindrance to him and his predecessor was
throwing the ball away.
Oh, well, I didn't think he took any big hits or anything like that. It looked like he
no. But that's what I'm saying. When he got rid of that ball, which was
right
to fight another down, and which Wentz had that issue of not getting rid of it, and he had that issue last year, holding on to the ball too long, and it caused turnovers and things of that nature, and taking unnecessary hits.
Well, let's speak on a guy that we've just mentioned that did not have a guaranteed roster spot per se. That looks like everybody's excited about him, which is Quez Watkins. As we mentioned, 98-yard ball that he just missed on. He did get your ball from, I believe it was from Flacco for, was it 79 yards?
Something like that. It was a little quick bubble screen.
Yeah, 79-yard TD. But it was one block and go. Richard Rodgers made a block. He was gone. I think what was most impressive was just the way he turned on the Jets. Good God.
He looked at the dude, and all of a sudden it was like, beep, sure.
Right. He looked like he was polite about it and everything. Just like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. How you doing?
With a man having that much speed and the fact that he has been having an extremely impressive camp, I think it's safe to say he has a roster spot. But do you think he's preliminarily moved up the depth chart at all?
I mean, he went from, hey, we came into camp for the most part assuming that the 4 receivers guaranteed a spot were Reagor, the Slim Reaper, Fogel, and Ward. Those were 4. Then it was like the 5th one. They had a bunch of receivers. He's locked in. I think he's locked in that 5th spot, guaranteed. I mean, I even think with Hightower, if Hightower didn't get hurt, he still would have beat out Hightower. But not only that, like he's having a better camp than Reagor and Fogel. and I'm not saying he's a better receiver. I'm just saying,
as far as camp,
like,
right?
yeah, oh my, like, if this continues into the regular season and plays, like, could we actually see our outside receivers as Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins and Rieger as our slot? Like, could we see that?
I think we'll see for a few plays. I think what's starting to happen is that it's not a matter of will Watkins make the team as much as, all right, how many plays are we going to design for this week?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because we all assume
Right.
that the top 3 receivers, now, is he going to be one of those receivers that's going to be, you know what I mean? And is Fogel and Greg Ward the ones that are going to be ones trying to get in for some playing time?
Well, and Rager too, I mean, played a lot of slot at TCU. So I don't think that's out of the question. I think what's exciting about this, and we will talk about coaching as well, but as we talked about with what we saw at Sirianni, everybody has a place. Anybody seems to can be used at any time, but for good reason. He's not just going to put somebody in there just because it's your turn to get 5 plays. You know,
right?
This ain't C squad. So with that being said, which is a more lopsided fight? Tyson versus Michael Spinks, or Mailata versus Dillard? I think it's pretty even right now. The fact that they don't want to name Mailata as the starter is actually even worse than them not naming Hurts the starter at this point.
But do you see the trend? Me and you and I talked about this a while ago, right? Like, they didn't come out, even though we know Fletcher Cox is the starter. We know Brandon Graham is the starter. They didn't come out and say, yeah, even though Dillard might not even be ready until like week 3 or 4. So you get what I'm saying? I mean, he might be ready week 1. We don't know. He's week to week still, so you never know. But after the first week, it was obvious. Like, it was just obvious. The discrepancy was so wide, and it was just the only reason Dillard was even getting that option was because he was a number 1 pick, not first round pick.
With that being said, you're the GM, okay? Mm-hmm. So you're Howie Roseman. Let's say, for argument's sake, you can't find a trade partner. Mm-hmm. Would Dillard make your team?
Well,
and I say that just because you look at the linemen who have been having great camps behind them. Obviously, you need a spot for Dickerson too, who you drafted that might not be ready. Dillard can only play one position. He can't play right tackle, can't play guard, can't play center. A lot of the other guys can play more than one position that are behind Mailata. And I know he was a first-round pick, so we're being theoretical here. I would be shocked if Dillard was not on this team and we didn't get some compensation for him. You know what I mean? He wasn't traded. But all things aside, if you're the GM, do you just say, screw that, we need to have our best players and it's over?
Nah, I still would keep him on because he's in the last year of his rookie contract. Was there some guaranteed money in there? So might as well just keep him at that point.
Over like a Matt Pryor who can play multiple positions?
Yeah, Matt Pryor stinks. You could probably get something for Matt Pryor at this point over Dillard. You could probably at least get a 7th round pick for Matt Pryor.
That's true. I mean, it's just interesting because it looks like you're only going to have 9 spots, right?
Right.
And after your 5, you want your 4 other offensive linemen to be able to play multiple positions because they can't just be a specialist. So maybe Pryor might not even be the right person I'm thinking of. You know what I mean? Because you got Driscoll, you got
who surprisingly, right, came in as a right tackle, but he started at he didn't start. Sorry, he had been up until was a surprise to me that they actually let him play. Brooks he had been playing right guard.
Right, because he could play guard. He could be an emergency center too.
Who, Driscoll?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but it's just
still surprising, right?
I would also try to maybe sit down with the coaches and see. Hey, I would sit down with Jeff Stoutland because, and listen, man, if Stoutland can't get him to do it, nobody can, right? So I would try to see if we could get Dillard as a guard.
Maybe. Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Just have him transition as a guard. Like, hey, back up. But I think with Clark coming back and he was just taken off the PUP and put on the active roster.
Right.
I even think if he was healthy, he would have beat out Dillard for
Right.
the
That's what
spot.
I'm saying. Like,
You know what I mean?
right now, from what it's saying, like, if you need someone to step in at left tackle, Dillard's not that much better than Toth.
Right.
You know,
I'll tell
he's
you
better,
what,
but
man,
not that much better.
that Opita dude's not very good. I was watching him right before we went on. He's not very. He started at left guard. I mean, I know the options really weren't there, but he just really not really good.
I think he's all right, but he did not have a good showing that game. He definitely didn't. There's some history of him playing pretty decent. He also was supposed to be our backup center, our official backup center. But yeah, he did not have a good day.
Yeah,
it wasn't god awful, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, he was allowing people to cross his face a lot.
So with that being said, you heard me say 9 offensive linemen. Normally you think, oh, you normally keep 10. Well, one of the reasons why that might be is because the Eagles might have to try to find a way, if Zach Ertz stays on his team, to keep 4 tight ends, because this Tyree Jackson guy, who was a quarterback in November of last year, I mean, he had a couple catches, almost had one more. Flacco was looking for him, but the kid just seems to be super athletic. The typical kind of, I guess, what has become the project tight end, really big guy, really athletic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to find a roster spot for him, right? Because if you don't, someone's going to sign him, you would think.
Don't they have that protective thing or no? Like, isn't there like a protective practice squad player, protective practice where?
I don't think so. I know what you're talking about, but I don't think there is. Like, or if there is some sort of protection, it's you get like certain compensation. But if this kid is, I mean, you look at some of the other people that he's in the mold of, and I'm not saying he's nowhere close to as good as that Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez or even Darren Walker or anything like that. But he just started playing tight end like 8 months ago.
Right.
It looks pretty damn good,
I mean,
and you look at the most recent person who was an alternate in the Pro Bowl, Logan Thomas, who was a quarterback at Virginia Tech, now started tight end for the Washington football team. Like, but
Logan Thomas, it took him a few, like 4 years to make that transition.
Right,
this kid, like you said, has done it with 6 to 8 months, right? So,
right. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I think they got to find a roster spot for this kid. He might not, which I hate to say, that leaves your draft pick from Nebraska on the practice squad. And I think he'll make practice squad, but.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. They may do some slick shit, like put him on the PUP or something.
Right. Oh, he tweaked his calf,
Yeah, he goes.
That's what I thought they were going to do.
There might be some loopholes, yo.
That's what I thought they were going to do with the lineman that you mentioned that they signed from Indianapolis that they just activated. I forget what was his name.
Clark.
I thought he was going to be on the PUPs like week 6 or 7, and it all of a sudden, oh well, don't call it a comeback. Like, but yeah, like, so let's just flip. I want to flip a little bit to some defensive stuff. I was focusing a little bit more on offense than I was defense, just because offenses are running vanilla stuff. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't in there, but still
our
good.
Defense was very vanilla too.
Right. I do think the first part of the second team looked really good for vanilla. They were seemed like they were tackling well in the first quarter. They knew their assignments. Nobody seemed confused. Now, as they got tired, you saw what happened as you started seeing the lower end second team, third team, But one person I wanted to ask you about, Milton Williams, man. Your thoughts?
Milton Williams, he's okay. He definitely needs to get his stamina up.
That was the big thing to me.
But I noticed he lined up a lot more defensive end than he did defensive tackle. So
yeah. So and I'm glad you said that. Do you think there's a possibility that the loser of the Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett rotation at defensive end might be traded?
No, absolutely not. They're not going to. They just re-signed Barnett, so and they're definitely not going to trade away Josh Sweat. So absolutely not.
So do you think he's just being used as like maybe just a fastball defensive end as the fifth option, maybe on some plays, but mostly D tackle? Or
I think it's kind of like what we were saying before. It depends on the formation because there's going to be times where he's going to be playing in the 3-4.
right.
You get what I'm
Okay.
saying? So they're going to have him like that because you're going to have the two edge rushers and you're going to have, and it's not going to be a traditional 3-4. But it's going to be. There's going to be times where they do that. Gannon's not showing that, but just based off personnel, you have a mix like Ryan Kerrigan, your boy that we got that we traded from the Browns 2 years ago. They got him standing up now.
Yeah, Gerard Avery.
Yeah, Avery. They got him standing up now. But those guys can also get into a 3-point or 4-point stance. You know what I'm saying? But they stand up. Barnett can stand up. Josh Sweat can stand up. Like they've had these different things. You know what I mean?
True. Secondary. Your thoughts on the secondary? When I say secondary, your first and second team secondary. I'm not getting into, way deeper leagues.
No, we're not gonna get into the Jaquettes and all those.
Honestly, Jaquette, beyond that one play, didn't look awful. The one play he looked bad, but
I mean, if we got to rely on him for coverage, we're in trouble.
He's gonna get attacked on every play. I agree.
Yeah. You know what I could see for Jaquette, and especially that we're not that deep. What I felt the Eagles should have did with Rasul Douglas is maybe try to transition him, make him a safety. I like the kid's toughness because he got burnt, and then the very next play he tackled Claypool for a loss. Like you know what I'm saying? He read the play.
Right.
So
and Claypool's not easy to take down either. So
right. So he's good at run support. I just
he does not look good on one-on-one. Granted,
right.
the guy that burned him, did have 88 catches last year. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like it was a bomb, but still, that's who you're going to be going up against if you're starting every week. Unless if you're a defense starting against the Eagles. But with that being said, it was a quiet night, but I think that was a good thing from Slay, safeties, and
yeah, man, it wasn't bad, man. It was. I would have definitely liked to seen Wallace. You know what I'm saying? We already know what McLeod could do.
Right. Well, McLeod wasn't playing, so but.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like we know what he can do. So that wasn't somebody who was like, oh, I need to see what McLeod could do. But I want to see what Kayvon could do.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
I wish I would have. I was happy to see. I know this is not defensive backs, but I was happy to see Sean Bradley all over the place. Granted, that third team was getting gashed, but he was kind of the one bright spot that seemed to always be making tackles and stuff. It seemed like guys were hitting him with 8 yards of steam because the D line was part like the Red Sea.
Oh yeah, he was all over the place. I hope he makes a team, even as a special teamer. He's not somebody you want as your starting linebacker right now.
Right now, he could develop into that, but not at the moment. Speaking of special teamers, is it Elijah Riley, the safety that had the interception later on? And
that
was a nice spot for him. He's mostly special teamer, but it was nice to see him do that. Nice reaction. I just hope, and we'll get into kind of what we're going to be looking for in the next preseason game, but I hope to see more out of Jacoby Stevens too.
Well, he was hurt.
Exactly. So you couldn't see anything. I hope to see, right. So, but speaking of
that's what I'm saying, like him and Kayvon, I would have really liked to have been able to see.
Who I would like to see something more out of who wasn't hurt, and we're actually going to get to why we didn't see much out of as much as I feel like we could have, was old Kenneth Gainwell. We saw a nice little chunk, but part of that, and I want to ask you about Sirianni, run to pass ratio was 9 passes for 1 run, essentially, when Jalen Hurts was running the offense, and at one point it was 28 passes to 6 runs. I'm not concerned about. I just want to say if maybe if you agree with me, I'm not concerned about that mainly because Miles Sanders was a late scratch, and maybe they had some stuff lined up for Miles, but really they wanted to see what Hurts could do and the receivers could do and what this line could do as opposed to just a run game. Would you agree? That's why it was a little unbalanced.
Sirianni actually came out and said that in his press conference. He said he didn't want to because they have a unique blocking scheme, almost like the zone blocking scheme, and they decided to scratch it because they didn't want to give them any film. Anybody film. Like he actually came out. Somebody asked him, and he was like, "Yeah, we did that because I'm not trying to. We decided not to show our basically our runs." So
well, I mean, it's one thing. It's very rare to have a coach say something and it's actually true. So it's a little refreshing.
It's very rare. It's very rare that a coach comes out and says, "Yeah, we didn't run the ball like that because I don't want to expose my blocking scheme."
Right.
Like you get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like so when he said that, and that's why like he did because at first everybody was butchered like the Philadelphia being, and then when he had that press conference, everybody was like, "Oh well, shit, okay." Okay. Like even the negative Nellas over at WIP were still like, "Oh yeah, shit, well, okay." What can we say about that?
Well, let me ask you a little bit about running game. So, Kerryon Johnson, he's hurt. Do you think that's the end of Kerryon Johnson in the Eagles uniform?
I think that's the end of Kerryon Johnson in the NFL.
I don't know about all that. I mean, I think he might be picked up somewhere. I mean, I will say, they just recently cut Elijah Holyfield. His NFL aspirations might be done.
It's just with Kerryon. He has a knee injury. And now there's no timetable when he'll be able to return.
Well, they said it was week to week, but yeah.
So I missed that. Because
I read this morning it said 2 to 4. So
okay.
Yeah. But
you know what I mean? You're coming in. Here's the thing. You're already coming in. You came in, you weren't out of shape, but compared to the other running backs in OTAs, then you get to camp and Jordan Howard looks like the Jordan Howard with the Bears. You got Gainwell. Boston
Scott came up with something to prove.
He came out with something to prove.
And then you got Miles.
So, and then you get hurt. I think the simple fact that they came out with Jalen Hurts and speaking, and look, I know Kerryon Johnson's like forte. One of his big things is picking up blitz packages. I think Jordan Howard has that covered.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think they're like, Jesus, man. Linebackers are going to think twice flying in there like that on him. Good God.
Yeah, right. But back to Sirianni. Just your thoughts on him and his I guess coaching debut with.
I was extremely impressed. I'm not. All right, I want to come off like I'm sounding like I'm trashing Doug, but I'm not.
I was going to do the Doug comparison too. That would sound that way.
So even during the Super Bowl run, there was times like we just seemed undisciplined, like penalties, and then last year was definitely like it was like we had to waste timeouts. We didn't ever had too many people on the field. Plays weren't ready. Things that some of us. Like, even I did expect some of it because maybe I think he would get caught up, even though it was preseason, but still you're trying to in and out personnel. You get what I'm saying? You saw none of that.
Very nicely tight run ship.
Yes.
I will say this too. Now, granted, it's preseason, but after this whole, whether you believe it or not believe it, just the fact that it was out there, how Doug and Carson Wentz didn't talk for weeks on end and all this other stuff. Okay. It was nice to see a coach coaching up a quarterback on the sidelines, going over, foot placement and all that. And then on the next drive, the head coach, granted, he probably won't be able to do this during the regular season, but being over with the receivers and talking with them and like just talking with different position groups and being that active.
He does that. They say he does that at practice all day.
I don't know. That's the only thing, just being a head coach and what you got to do. Like, I don't know if you're going to be able to trust Jonathan Gannon with the defense. Just here you go and not monitor that, because stuff is happening like that so quick. Like, do you think you'll be able to do that during the regular season? That seems.
I mean,
it seems hard, right?
Yeah, but I think he trusts his boy. Like that's his man. Like that's his homie. Like you know what I'm saying? And Jonathan Gannon, like people do realize, like he was the coaching, like that next coordinator that everybody wanted.
Right.
And he came here because Sirianni is his homie. Like you know what I mean? Like they're dope. And but that's what I'm saying. Like he's hands on. Like he'll see Jalen, and next thing you know what I mean?
Well, I wanted to ask you too, just about Gannon. One of the strengths of this team is constantly keeping fresh legs out there in the rotation. And what we saw against, what we had here with Jim Schwartz is that some teams would go to the hurry up to stop that. Like, all right, you want to keep on cool. We're going to just go to hurry up. You're not going to be able to take the guys off. So with that being said, do you think it was, even though it was first preseason game, super smart for him to leave some players out there that were tired just to see how they would react?
Well,
Especially
no,
when I say
because
that, we're not talking veterans. I mean, the Milton Williams of the world and stuff.
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I just think he just wanted to get more film on him. Because the reason why teams were able to do that with Schwartz, because it legitimately was just a four-man rush. There
Right.
was no exotic blitzes. There was no pre-snap reads. There was no stunts. There was no which Gannon's going to be doing. So you can't do that when you think of the safeties come in, and then all of a sudden the D tackle drops back, and then the safety goes into flat, and then all of a sudden here comes this corner screaming off, like you don't know where somebody's coming from. When you know where people are coming from, like in a Jim Schwartz defense, yeah, you'd be like, yo, let's go to hurry up, let's tire them out.
Okay. One more thing I want to point out. David Akers made more field goals Thursday night from beyond 47 yards than he did all last season. And last season he had a pretty bad year. Obviously, on the surface it looks like a good sign, but when you look at that, understand that David Akers hasn't played with us for 15 years.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna let you keep talking.
With that being said, another guy who made more field goals Thursday night. Now, you might go to David Akers' Twitter, he had it on there. Another guy who made more field goals Thursday night than he did last year was Jake Elliott.
Yes.
Much like David Akers, he had a pretty bad year, but it's because he was doing it for an NFL team where David Akers was just in his backyard.
Right. I was just letting you finish.
But with that being said, I mean, good sign, bad sign, doesn't really matter. The fact that Jake Elliott is do you think coaching actively did that to give him those opportunities?
I don't know, maybe a couple, I don't know. Jake Elliott even came out and stuff and he said it was a confidence thing. His coaches came out and said it was a confidence thing. Sometimes you just got to work those things out. You get what I'm saying? And I think in a situation like that, when there is an actual live crowd now, again, it wasn't sold out arena, but there was actually human beings in the damn stands.
Right.
And up against another team and everything, I think that really helped him with his confidence. But we all know he could 40 yards and deep, he's fine. I want to see what he does at, you know what I mean? Well, he did
like that, last year. He wasn't fine at there. He wasn't fine anywhere. It seemed like on the field.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
One more thing. So I'm assuming right after camp breaks, Nick Mullins is gone, right?
Bro, listen.
I mean, you started 16 games in the NFL and you look that bad against third and fourth stringers. I don't know.
Bro, I thought there was a possibility that we even said on the show that there was a possibility they'll keep it 3 quarterbacks. Yeah, no. The only way I see them keeping him is if he gets put on a practice squad. That's it.
Even then, bro, like at this point, I'd rather have a rookie or say I'd rather have
I'd rather have like a GJ Kinney or somebody like
right. Yo, he was on the practice squad for about 38 seasons.
right.
So Thursday we play the Patriots. What are you looking for?
Kind of much the same. I still want to see the organization. I do want to see some. I want to see some more plays. I want to see more than just 2 drives from Hurts. Maybe I know you don't. I know you don't want to show too much. Just give us a little taste of like a blitz or something. You know what I mean? Just Just put a little salt on it, Gannon. Just a little bit. Nobody's saying it has to be pepper and oregano. Just a little salt. Just a little salt.
We don't need all the secret herbs and spices, but
Right. Just
no,
put a little salt in your palm and just kind of.
And that'd be Lowry's. You just be regular salt.
Yeah, just be salt. And I want to see how, because here's the thing. Thursday, I think I know definitely Monday and Tuesday, but I'm not sure about Wednesday. But I think Monday and Tuesday they're having practices with them. Yeah. Joint practice. That's the word I was looking for. Joint practices with them. So I would like to see how they look against a team that they've been practicing with against all week, and then going against them in the game. So a team that's kind of seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Especially that the Patriots defense is much improved. You will have, it looks like, at least one series, maybe a couple, against the guy that's considered the best corner in the game right now, with Gilmore on that side with the Patriots. So, and that secondary isn't a bad secondary at all. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. It should be nice. I think we'll see a little bit more in the run game, even if it is just dives and tosses.
Right.
With that being said, kind of want to do a 5-pack of questions. That's all going to be kind of NFL preseason-esque. Okay with that. So first things first. Have you paid attention to anything that's been going on in the preseason beyond the Eagles?
Yeah, a little bit. Like not as full, not
like watch games, but like you kind of
a little bit. Yeah, I've been keeping my ear to the streets.
Okay. So then you'd be aware of all the rookie quarterbacks so far, the one that's really impressed is Justin Fields.
Yes. Which I'm not, okay, real quick. I'm not trying to sound like a negative Nelly, but the way those receivers were wide open, looked like I could have thrown some of them passes. But
very true. I'm glad you brought that up. Justin Fields, once again, I mean, yes, you had Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence. They went 6 for 9, 50-some yards apiece. They're going up against first teamers, where Justin Fields got the bulk of the snaps and was going up against second and third teamers.
Right.
But let's say Justin Fields puts up impressive numbers the second preseason game. You give him a start third preseason game?
Yeah, they're probably going to start on the third preseason game anyway. From my understanding, that the second preseason game is going to almost be handled like the old school third preseason game, almost like the dress rehearsal. This is what I'm reading, and that teams are thinking about using that third preseason game as that fourth preseason game like they used to, where it was just pretty much just the guys on the bubble.
This was what I was getting at. Do you think Justin Fields, barring injury, is the Bears starter within the first couple weeks of the season, first 3 weeks?
No, because they already told Andy Dalton he was the starter. That was like per some. So now after like week 5, 6, if Dalton's struggling,
I mean, they told Sam Bradford he was the starter too until he wasn't. So
yeah, no, I'm just saying. You said the first 2-3 games. No, I think they'll give Dalton the first month, and then after that, if he's then that's why I said around week 5, week 6.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm just curious to see. I don't know. Chicago is very much like Philly in a sense, like they're already like, why is Justin Fields not the starter now? Like,
well, here's the thing: when they brought him in, and not Justin Fields, when they brought Dalton in, they were all pissed off because they told him he was the starter.
Right. Yeah. No, I would be too. Like, you were the backup. You know what I mean? With that being said, keep with the quarterbacks. Who do you think is going to end up being the starter in Denver? Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, someone else?
Probably say Teddy. I think Teddy's he's smart. He's not going to do no bells and whistles. He doesn't have a whole lot of bells. He's kind of I don't know, Dilfer-esque type quarterback, I would say.
Yeah, middle of the pack.
Yeah, don't rock the boat.
Might not win you a game, but he's definitely not going to lose you the game.
Right.
I would say Drew Lock looked really, really impressive, and so did Bridgewater. Bridgewater started the second week of preseason. They're kind of trying to figure that out. Another team is trying to figure it out too is the Saints. Taysom Hill was the starter week 1, but come week 1 of the regular season, Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston?
I think it's going to be Jameis.
Think James won't beat him out?
I think it's going to be Jameis. Yeah.
They both kind of had good and bad. I will say this though.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston had a pick, but it bounced off the receiver's hands.
Right. Jameis is more of a pure quarterback than Taysom. Taysom, you can still do other things with. You can use Taysom as a weapon.
Yeah, I mean Taysom Hill had a pick, and the receiver wasn't even the pitcher. Like it was
right.
It's like where is he throwing it to? So with that being said, off the quarterbacks, who do you think will be the highest impact, or who will have the biggest impact for their team as a rookie that wasn't drafted in the first round?
Ooh.
And by the way, for the record, a lot of people are actually picking Milton Williams to be that guy. Now, to me, I think it's going to be Terrence Marshall with Carolina, even though they have 2 receivers. I think he's going to be that third receiver that's super explosive. And, you know, you got Robbie Anderson and you got McCaffrey and all that. I think that's going to open up a lot for him.
Man, I'm gonna go with the Eagles as well, but I'm gonna go with Zach McPherson.
Okay. Now McPherson too had a amazing pass breakup where I think they said like he jumped almost like 4 feet in the air, something like that. he jumped. I think he jumped. It was like 42 inches, so it's like his vertical was crazy during the latest practice. So. He's showing some crazy athleticism and he's showing improvement too.
Right.
You know, and there's a few rookies that are not first rounders, but we don't have that typical kind of slippage that you saw. You know, so it's just interesting. Just I was looking at some of the people and stuff out there that you would think like, all right, 2nd round pick for Jacksonville or 2nd round pick for Cincinnati, or
right.
Not as much as what you're seeing, you know, out of camp so far. And finally, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who's your 8 division winners?
My preseason 8 division winners.
After week 1 of the preseason, so you have a large sample size.
Okay, so in the NFC East, I'm going with the Giants. The NFC West, I'm going with the Cardinals. NFC North, I'm going with Green Bay. And the South, I'm going with Tampa. AFC East, I'm going to go with Buffalo. AFC West, Kansas City. AFC South, going with Tennessee. And AFC North, going with Cleveland.
Now, it's interesting. I have the Washington football team winning the East again. First back-to-back division winners.
Oh,
in a long time. In the West, I have Seattle. I don't know why. It just seems like Russell Wilson just finds a way. In the NFC North, I do have Green Bay. But I will say that I think they'll edge out Minnesota by a game.
So since you want to put people on the spot, who are your 3 wildcard teams?
What, AFC or NFC? Or
both.
Both?
So total 6 wildcard teams.
So in the NFC, I have Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have Arizona.
Okay.
And I have Minnesota.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, Dallas, Arizona,
okay,
Minnesota, which means no one won that Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford trade.
Okay.
Both out. I do think that the Rams and the Eagles will have a chance to possibly get that 7th spot in Week 17.
Okay.
The Rams won't because they'll lose. The Eagles won't because they needed too much to happen.
Okay.
Now in the AFC, I think it's going to be Cleveland, right?
Uh-huh.
I think we're going to end up with Indy, right?
Okay.
And then I think that let's see, Cincy, no. Dolphins, no. Let's see some of the other teams, right? Well, I didn't mention Buffalo, so you think Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
No.
Oh man.
I think that it's going to be Justin Herbert,
Okay.
and they make that LA Superchargers will be my 17s, which
Okay.
means Buffalo and the Rams, two teams who are kind of being picked to possibly make the Super Bowl, are out of my playoffs.
Oh wow. Well, so mine NFC would be Seattle, Minnesota, and the Rams. So yes, 3 teams out of the West are going to make the playoffs.
I saw that. Okay.
AFC is going to be New England. Oh my God, just had it in my head. New England, Indianapolis, and New England, Indianapolis, and Baltimore. Duh, Baltimore.
So Chargers don't make it. Raiders don't make it. Denver doesn't make it in the West.
Nope.
Okay. Nobody else in the East. What that's the teams from last year?
No, I said New England.
So New England. Okay, but
And I
so
said Buffalo's going to win the division. New England's going to be a wild card.
who made the playoffs last year in place of New England?
Buffalo.
No, I mean out of your group. Like who made the playoffs last year? The Texans didn't make it, right?
No, Texas didn't make it. No.
Steelers did.
Shit.
Steelers made it last year.
Steelers. Yeah. Steelers. Yeah, 3 teams from the North made it. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so yours is kind of chalk from last year as far as with the AFC. We both have some interesting mix-ups for the NFC, so cool stuff. Now, obviously, we'll ask this question again going into week 1 and then one more time probably week 8, just see how things change.
Yeah, mid-season. Yeah.
One thing I will say, first week of preseason is done, no major injuries to anybody. That's always good to see. You know, nobody started off, nothing like that around the league. Those are my 5-pack of questions, man. It's kind of simple, kind of quick.
Right.
Just excited for football next week. I don't know if we'll do it live or what we're going to do, but we will be at the open practice.
Yes. And I was sitting there and I was like, holy shit, that's next Sunday.
Yeah. Is that crazy? August is going quick. But I'm excited for some football, man. I'm excited to really watch them go at it. What I'm excited too is that, like, we forget last year there was no preseason. None.
There was none of this shit.
None of it. By the way, what's up with the Ravens, man?
What? As far as what?
Like you had to win 18 preseason games in a row. 18 though? 18-0? You're undefeated in the preseason? So all the time?
Trust me. I hear it all the time.
Why you go so hard in preseason? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say this. Baltimore's probably the only team I've heard of that goes undefeated in preseason and then actually makes the playoffs. Usually you go undefeated in the preseason, just suck.
Right. Well, if you remember though, that's that Harbaugh. That's that Andy Reid tree. Because remember the Eagles would always be like 3-1 in or whatever. and then also we were always there. You know what I mean?
True, but I mean, it wasn't straight up this.
But Baltimore always is a deep team though, for real. They
Yeah.
always they draft very well.
They do. And they always have. I mean, God, I can't remember the last time Baltimore. It had to be last millennium. Last time you heard of Baltimore having a bad draft, like just a straight up everybody sucked draft.
Right.
So many people Baltimore complains about. We're like, yo, bring them over here. Like shit.
Right. I'll take them.
But all right, y'all. That's our show. Don't forget, check us out anywhere on wherever podcasts are available. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. We will have updates at least every week. Don't forget to check out the Facebook page as well. Two Brothers, Same Mother. That is the number 2 Brothers, Same Mother. Any parting words for you?
Like you said, just glad football's back. As you know, my son is a senior. So he's going into his last year of football. So his first scrimmage is Saturday. So that's going to be definitely exciting. It's here.
On that note too, for parents or guardians or what have you who have kids playing football, hydration starts at home. Why I bring that up? Like, make sure, please, your son, I know at least he was told to, but I'm assuming he still is on that whole gallon of water just about a day.
They have to bring a gallon of water to football with them.
Make sure your kids are drinking enough water. In the Philadelphia area, we've already had 2 kids who one died and one is in critical condition due to heat stroke.
Right.
Drinking water during practice doesn't really help much. Make
sure it starts the day before.
Right. The day before and the day of, you drink a ton of water. When I say day of, I mean an hour before. I mean, please, like, seriously. We all should stay hydrated, but especially for your kids' sake. Like, and I'm not talking like, sports drinks or Kool-Aid. Like, really make sure they drink water. For real. Yeah. So little PSA. I just, I hate to hear when people in my community are dealing with stuff like that, especially like 16-year-old, dying just because he wasn't hydrated, and I mean, coaches are trying to do everything they can. Of course, coaches make sure, you look out for that too. But you as the parent, you can control that by making sure, as you said, your son is required to have a gallon of water because of his program he's in. But just please make sure they're hydrated. That's my point.
Sir.
All right, y'all. On that note, speaking of hydration, I'm going to grab a beer like AJ has and talk to y'all next week, man.
First.